So thank you for taking your time to spend it with us. We hope that you find the learning today really informative, and you take with you some information that you will be able to use to support your students. So glad to have you. This is our number blocks intervention, and this is for the summer work that you might be engaging in. So let's get started, as we always do, with a warm opener. And so today's warm opener is, what's your favorite? What's your favorite when you're creating? If it's a pencil, right, you really love to use a pencil to draw, you're going to give me a 1, or you can put it in the chat, right? But you can show fingers, put it in the chat, whatever's easier for you today. If this was your group of students right in front of you, you would probably want them to show those fingers. If you really love working with crayons, you're gonna give us a 2. If you enjoy glue, I remember when I was a kid, I used to love to put the glue on my hands and let it dry and then peel it all off, right? I mean, I used to spend so much time doing that. Now, kids don't know the joy of that. They're on their computers and phones, but okay, so you're gonna give us a 3 if you really love glue. We're gonna have a 4 if you love markers. Maybe you love all the different colors or the ones that have the smells to them, right? You love to draw or you love to create things with markers. Gonna give us a 4. And then those scissors, a 5. And I remember making all sorts of things. Like once you learned how to make that snowman, then you were able to create all sorts of things with your scissors. So what's your favorite? What items do you really enjoy working with as you create? You're going to give us a 1, 2, a 3, a 4, or 5. All right. And so I am going to invite a couple of you to unmute and just talk about why. So I'm going to move this over and let's see. I see Lindsay has a 1. Is she our only one? Okay, Lindsay, we're going to start with you because you're the only one who said 1. Why is a pencil your favorite? Oh, and Brooke also. Okay, cool. So Lindsay and or Brooke. Yep. Yes, go ahead, unmute, Lindsay. Share with us. Did we lose Lindsay? Let me check. Okay, maybe we did. We're going to go to Brooke. Oh, no, I see Lindsay. Lindsay, can you hear us?
Yeah, my connection got lost. I just got back in.
No worries. Okay, so we were just naming that you really enjoy working with your pencil. That was your favorite, and just wanted you to share why.
I think because it comes, in my mind, it comes first and comes before the other things, I think. Okay. And I just like my order, my process.
Okay, I love it. So you feel like that's the priority, like that's the foundation of your creation. You might start with the pencil.
Yeah, that's a good word.
I'm not mad at it. All right, wonderful. Thank you, Lindsay. Let's get someone else. Let's see. I saw we had some 4s in there, and we have quite a few, but I want to make sure we give everyone who would like to share. So I see a lot of 4s. So if I could get someone who chose 4 to please unmute. Tell us, why did you choose those markers?
I chose 4. I'm Elizabeth. Hi.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. I chose 4 because I think it's just really bright and kind of exciting. And there's a lot, there's that feedback, you know, you just with a little piece or small little mark, it comes out really bright.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elizabeth. And we'll just take one more. Let's see. We didn't get a 2 or a 3 or a 5, but anyone who chose one of those, I'm going to stop that there. Like to unmute first and just tell us your why. Why is it your favorite?
I chose 2 because I like things to be colorful, and I love the smell of crayons. So I often use crayons to color code, even with kids. So crayons would be my favorite because of how great they smell, and how colorful they are. And there's a variety of colors.
Yes. I love it. Thank you so much, Amy. I want to thank each and every one of you who put your number in the chat, who showed your fingers visually for us all to see, and of course, everyone who unmuted and shared. We really appreciate you taking out the time to do that. So this was our warm opener, and every single time we connect, we want to begin with a warm opener, and we want to encourage you to do the same. This is something that we always kind of push to the side. We don't make time for it. And what we're naming is that if we invest the time in these routines, and some people call them rituals, right? If we take the time to do this, then we can help build relationships with our students and create a space where each and every student feels like they belong in our classes. All right, and so our warm opener again is an activity, just 5 to 7 minutes each morning. Sometimes it can be shorter depending upon what you want to do with your students, but we recommend about 5 to 7 minutes. You want to invite all voices, all people's thoughts into that space. So give your kids a chance to share. Additionally, you want it to be joyful, right? You want to create a space where kids feel welcome, where they feel happy to be, or at least encouraged to be and supported when they're there with you. It can also support your students around some of those social emotional competencies, right? And these warm openers are coming from our SEL practices, where we can support our students with self-awareness, with responsible decision-making, with self-management, right? All of those skills can be developed within this space. All right, I want to thank you all for participating. These are our norms for students' engagement in mathematics. And so you will see that we'll lean into these spaces throughout your time with us today. And we're going to lift this up the next time that we all come together. But I want to give everyone a moment. You can just take a look at some of the ideas here. Now we're naming them as norms, and perhaps they might also serve as beliefs. But holding these beliefs, establishing these norms can create a culture within a classroom where your students feel supported, where they take risks, where they know that mistakes are okay, where they know that they're going to be asked questions and that they get the question, which are all extremely important. We're going to think more deeply about these as we move forward, but we will have these in your slides for our number block. So we just wanted you to be introduced to these briefly. We're going to come back to emotional learning competencies. And so all of them are really centered around building positive identities. And as students are engaging in mathematics, of course, we want to build those positive mathematics identities. And that is really around us being intentional about creating a space where kids feel comfortable sharing their voices, sharing their thinking, asking questions, engaging, and participating. And the research shows that when you create a space where students feel comfortable, where they feel like what they share is important, that their contributions to the class matter, that when they take risks, they'll be supported and encouraged, that they take more risks, that they participate more, that they engage more. And so we are committed to supporting one another with creating these activities that you're going to have access to today, as well as our closures. We hope that you see that they're structured such that you can be intentional about creating spaces where students feel supported and they're able to develop those positive math identities. All right, so really quickly, I want to name the framework, and we're using the Seo Instructional Framework, and we're building in the intervention within this space. So we're going to start with our warm openers. Then you're going to have those engaging activities, which are connected to the research vetted intervention. And then we're going to have those hopeful endings, right? Because we want to set the tone for the day. We want to be reflective about the learning that occurred at the throughout that day. And then we also want students to feel good. Over to Shauna, who's going to invite you to participate in a warm opener, much like your students will experience.
Beautiful. And we are going to get started. You're going to have the same breakout rooms for our entire session at this point. So what we'd like to do is put you into the rooms, let you introduce yourselves to each other, maybe why you're here for number box training, and then what type of openers are you currently using, and how might you make sure that you're meeting those goals of having a warm opener for your students. So meeting each other, what you're hoping to get out of this session for using number blocks, whether you're using it in the summer or planning to use it in your regular classroom, and then how do warm openers fit into your current teaching? What might you do to enhance that? Questions for me? All right, we're going to send you off then and encourage you to get to know each other. Welcome. Welcome back, everybody. Elizabeth, do you mind sharing how you heard about number blocks? I was eavesdropping in your rooms.
Which Elizabeth?
Yes,
I know there's two.
Oh, Elizabeth Barr, sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say, I don't think I saw you in mine, but okay.
Yeah, I have a student that, kept asking me for number blocks. Where are the number blocks? Where are the number blocks? And at first I didn't understand what he was even saying. And when I figured out what he was saying, I looked it up. I Google searched it. I'm like, I got to figure out what this is. And I Google searched it for him and he was so excited. I actually found it on Amazon, and they were these pillows. So then he went home and he was telling his parents, I want the pillows, the number block pillows. And so they had to email me and say, what are these number blocks pillows? I'm like, okay, well, I just found it's the biggest, clearest picture I could find. So that's what I had. So they ordered it for him for the holidays, and he actually supposedly tracked the container ship across the Pacific Ocean to come until he got them. It was like in January, and they ordered them in November. So it was quite some time. But in the meantime, what I did is I made them out of Unifix cubes. He was very excited with me.
They are a thing. We were really excited. I've been on to number blocks for a couple years now. We've been doing some things watching the UK and how they're approaching early math. And it just happened that Hand to Mind this year came out with the kits. And when Eurisha and I did the summer interventions last year, we really didn't have anything for the K1s, and this kind of filled it in. And I think we're now really good actually for preschool all the way through 7th grade between Pirate Math Equation Quest and then Fraction Face Off. So we're hoping that this provides a lot of support no matter what grade level you're teaching. All right, so for a few minutes, we'd like you to put your student hat on. We're gonna go through a warm opener. We're gonna see a number blocks video. We're gonna do our activity. And then we will kind of delay the closure a little bit so that you can see that at the end of our session today. So these warm openers are already built into the slide decks. The slide deck is attached to the Padlet, and we are still furiously adding lessons and openers and closers to make sure they're in there. Knowing the age group that we're working with, you will see repeats of the openers, the warm openers, and the hopeful endings. And the reason for that is Blue's Clues. There was a lot of early childhood development work done. And one of the reasons that they showed Blue's Clues episodes 5 days in a row is because the kids got more familiar. As they saw the episode, by the end of the week, they would be jumping out of their seat because they knew where the clue was for Blue. So you build the confidence and they're able to sort of get more out of it every time you watch. Absolutely, Eurisha will put that in chat for you, the Padlet link. But it really builds for kids that familiarity and that confidence that they know what's going on. So you will see a repeat format of many of our warm openers and hopeful endings. And that's really so that kids are able to not worry about how they're going to answer or to stress out about what you want me to say, but they can really just focus on being excited. So we have a number of openers that look at how many. So if you would, in chat, go ahead and put, I like to eat this many pieces of fruit. What number of fruit pieces do you like to eat? In the warm opener again, we want to get kids' voices into the room. All right, Jason, you only want 2 pieces of fruit. What kind of fruit are you eating?
I think I would eat a banana and an apple.
Oh, nice. So you're having 2 different kinds of fruit. Nice. And because of the age of our students, what color fruits are you eating, Jason?
Yellow and green.
Oh, you eat green apples? Thumbs up or thumbs down, boys and girls. How many of you eat green apples? No, Tina, what color apples do you like to eat?
I like red or yellow apples.
Ah, and do you eat green or yellow bananas? Or brown?
I put my bananas in my smoothie because I can't eat a banana all by itself.
So are you using the green ones because they're better for you?
Yeah, whatever I have left that my kids haven't eaten already.
Beautiful. So we can get into really nice conversations. Now I know that Tina makes smoothies. And so we feel like we know each other a little bit differently. Elizabeth K, now we do sound like we're in kindergarten. Elizabeth K, you're eating 10 pieces of fruit. What are you eating?
I'm eating strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, bananas, apples, any fruit I can get.
Elizabeth K is like a whole fruit salad. Nice. And let's see, Renee, you have an interesting number. You picked 3. What are you eating?
Grapes, strawberries, and apples.
What color grapes are you eating?
The red ones.
Nice. All right, everybody, thumbs up if you like grapes with seeds. Yeah, we are a no seed group, absolutely. So we're getting lots of vocabulary in the room. We're talking about quantities. We're talking about things we like to eat. We know there's likely to be at least one kid who's going to say 0, fruit's awful, or 0, my mom doesn't buy fruit. All answers are good answers. And that's the really fun part, is to be able to celebrate. So even if you have a kid who's tube fed, well, what's your favorite fruit to pick? Or what's your favorite fruit to, whatever. We are very open-ended. But we like to get the voices into the room and have everyone sort of feeling like they're part of the lesson. All right. When you see your number block slides, you will always see the warm opener, just like the slide that Eurisha shared, has that orange background. And so that is our orange background warm opener. For this, we always have a video, and the videos are actually correlated to how they filled them out in the little sheet that you will get with your intervention kit. So there are red videos and yellow videos that kind of tell you what level the kids are going to be at. So all of the video slides will look the same. I also included a thinking question that you could use to sort of engage students after you watch the video. So we're going to go ahead and watch about Blockzilla. Thumbs up if you've already seen a number blocks video. Okay, awesome. We will get everyone on board here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 number blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 number blocks. 1 and another one is 2 and another one is me. That's 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time for some number fun. You can count on us with a number box.
Like big things. Which is bigger? Tree is bigger than flower. Me like tree. Ah! Nice to meet you, Tree. Will you play with me? Ah.
This apple is bigger than this one, and you're bigger than me. So you have it, 3.
Thank you, 2. I like apples. I like to munch them and crunch them and gobble them up. Me, Blockzilla. 3 has more blocks than 2. 3 is great. than 2, greater means bigger. So me like 3. Don't gobble me up! Huh? Me no eat you, silly. Me like you.
I like square cheese. I like it in my tummy. There's a monster!
It wants to munch us, crunch us, gobble us up. Run, hide. Look, a cave. We can hide in there. You go first, one. You're smaller than me. We should be safe in here. 1 is less than 3. Me like bigger numbers. So me like 3. Oh, me want to meet you, not eat you.
Where can we hide? Look, a cave. You go ahead, 2. I'm bigger than you. We should be safe in here.
4 is greater than 2. So me like 4.
Like I like square cheese in my tummy. No! Silly!
There's a monster.
It likes number blocks in its tummy.
Oh dear. Sounds as if we need a plan. And I think I will. Three is less than 5. Me like 5. Me mean 5 is greater than 3. Me like 5. 3 is less. 5 is greater. 3 but 5. 1.
We're both the same.
4 equals 4.
You can't eat us now.
Me no like to eat you, silly. What? Me like to play with you. Play with us? 5 is greater than 3, so Blockzilla play with 5. What?
Play with me!
My turn!
Blockzilla play with number blocks. 3 is less than 4. 3 is greater than 2. 1 is less than 2.
All right, so after we watched the video, we have a question. And I watched this with some little kids the other day, and they actually thought the Blockzilla was hilarious. So you all are not a good audience, but that's okay. We forgive you for being grown-ups. So, Colleen, you have a little one with you. Can you give me some number sentences?
Yes, my little one actually loves number blocks. So when he heard it, he ran over and he was like, more number blocks. I've seen like all the episodes. But I could say 4 is greater than 2.
Okay, so we're going to do 4 is greater than 2. And I know there's some controversy about using the animal to help learn the greater than or less than sign. I think it's really important that we just don't talk about numbers eating or numbers liking, but transitioning them to the good mathematical language of saying 4 is greater than 2. And really making sure that we're kind of making that connection, that even though it's fun and interesting, we do that other part. What's another number sentence that you can make with 4 and 2, Colleen?
2 is less than 4.
Really nice to make sure that your students understand the reversibility. And what if we wanted to use the equal sign, Colleen? What numbers would you want to use?
4 minus 2 equals 2.
Wow. Colleen went fancy there. She gave us a big number sentence. 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. What if we didn't know minus yet? What's another number sentence we could use without plus or subtract?
2 equals 2.
2 equals 2, and 2 is the same as 2. So really helping kids. Hey, did we do a good job?
Now, I'm wondering also, hello, I'm wondering if we can put 2 is not equal to 4, and then we show that
Absolutely.
with the equal sign.
If your students are able to make the leap to the not,
yes,
absolutely. That's not one that we would always require, but I think it's a great way to talk to kids about it. So it's a really nice connection to have.
Okay.
And I will say the kids love the music. I now have a reputation in my cube row because I'm sitting there watching number block videos one after another. And then there are activities in the guide that you're going to get. So you're each going to get 2 boxes, and we'll explain a little bit more about what's in them as we go through. But each one of those has all these lessons that are already aligned to the videos. So what I did is I took the videos, I found a good YouTube link because it's not as easy as it sounds sometimes. I see Stacy nodding. They're sometimes embedded in bigger episodes. So I found the video that goes with the lesson that's in your kit. And then I also created a follow-up activity. So we really don't want to take DK all the way through 1st grade kids and let them think that math is about worksheets. So we have developed a bunch of activities that you can do after each video lesson to kind of get kids engaged and interested. So in this case, we're looking for a feely bag. And a feely bag can be any drawstring bag that you have. It can be a lunch bag. It can be whatever bag you've got going on in your world. But we really want kids to think about how a number might feel. So in this case today, we were talking about greater than or less than. So I also used multi-step directions on purpose. We are really trying to build executive functioning skills with little people, and that is not easy to do. So we have included 3 directions: a first, a then, and a last. So your first direction is, can you find a tower less than 4 in the feely bag? So I put a few of our number block friends in here, and we're hoping that they would be able to feel around and say, oh, I found a 1. I found the 1. And then find a tower greater than 2. So if you have a small group, we now have a direction for the next student. And by the way, there's probably a couple right answers to more than 2. All right, thumbs up or thumbs down. Is this more than 2? Nice, we can reinforce each other. And let's see what else I can find in here. And more than 2? Nope, it's equal to. Can you show me what equal to looks like using your hands and arms? Nice, that's equal to. And the last direction, we want to find one that is equal to 3. And we're digging around and we've pulled out a 3. Did we find the 3? Absolutely. So there are one of these activities built into the slide deck for each one of the lessons. There are also some resources that we'll share in a few minutes where you can get additional lesson ideas, including counting collections. They also come with your blocks. And the blocks, by the way, have this really cool shape pattern built in. So if you want to have kids building their own pattern, they would be able to kind of use the blocks in more than one way. Some other brands of blocks don't have the shapes built in. You're going to get your cute little stickers so they can look like the number blocks. Then you're also going to get activity cards. If you're not familiar, those are the number blobs, which are friends of the number blocks. So there are all these activity cards that are also built in. And the whole idea is that the kids are going to be playing and having fun and really just experimenting. The other piece that I really like about number blocks is it's not just about the numbers 1 through 10 and 11 through 20. So if you have a 1st grader and you're like, oh, they're way beyond this, I would challenge you to go through some of the lessons and take a look at the concepts, especially like even and odd and counting by 2s and all of those concepts, that you'll still find really good lesson connections. And at the very least, you've got some openers and some closers, and you've got some activities that students can work with. What we didn't include was a lot of paper activities. There are a few coloring sheets. There are a few like make the number block masks so they can look like a number block and things like that. You could also have them writing numerals in the sand. You could have writing numerals outside with chalk. So there are ways to get those fine motor skills going, but definitely not the focus of the intervention. And then we do have a closer for our kids. And go ahead, Eurisha.
Okay, so as we mentioned at the end of each lesson, we really want to make sure that we have an opportunity to summarize learning, to give students opportunity to reflect on what they learned during that time together, and also to set the tone for the next day. So we're looking forward to being back together. And so this particular hopeful ending is called Like Home, and it's really connected to community. We want to leverage students' experiences at home, within their community, within their culture, to support their learning within the classroom. So this particular hopeful ending just says, like home, today we counted. What's something at home you can count? And so we provided a sentence stem where your students would be able to name, I can count blank at home. And you can give them an example, right? You might name, you counted the plates as you set the table. You might name, you counted the flowers as your mom or dad was planting. You might name, you counted some pennies that you found in the couch. Whatever it is, you can give your students an opportunity to share a connection from home with friends, perhaps, to what's happening within the classroom. We also want to name that this particular activity is really connected and rooted to the neuroscience. We know that we learn best when we connect our new learning to our previous learning. And so we have to give our students opportunity to do that. So I want to give you a moment. I want you to think for yourself. And we focus on counting in this particular lesson, this particular hopeful ending, but you might also think about comparisons, because the video that you had an opportunity, again, you can modify these based on what makes sense for you. The video that you had an opportunity to see today had you looking at inequalities. So you might give your students the opportunity to make a comparison about greater than and less than. It really is up to you, but allow them to connect to home. So I want to give you a moment right now, and you can pop this right in the chat. Can everyone please share something that you can either count at home, right? You can do it with family, with friends, with your little ones, or could you share something that you might compare, right? Using inequalities, less than or greater than or equal to or not equal to. And thank you. I already see some great things named. Yes, people, pillows, absolutely. I see Barbies. Yeah, someone might have a lot of those, right? We might talk about how many shoes we have, right? Carrots I eat for dinner. Yeah, we might remember that. All sorts of things. Count your pet versus your siblings. Love it. Absolutely. And as you share more and more ideas, we know that our students will begin to think of things. So for the kid who's like, I can't think of anything, once we start sharing, it'll provide space for them to share. So this is the connecting to home and family. Again, we only want to spend about 5 to 7 minutes in this space. It allows you to invite not only your students' voice into the space, but your students' home experiences. We're naming that they are important, that they are valuable. And so we provide a space for them to share that with others. All right, Shauna?
All right, we're going to send you back to breakout rooms. This time you're going to be talking about the elements of the number blocks lesson. We have the warm opener, the video connection, the follow-up activity. The video connection also has that question to invite them to think about the video content. We would suggest too, if kids are okay with it, standing up for the video. We don't want kids sitting down the whole time. It's really good to get them up and moving. So allowing that flexible seating. You're going to have that green slide for that activity. In this case, it was the Feely bag, but there are also other activities where you're supposed to use like a can and drop the right number of blocks so they get to hear how many is in a number. So we have all those connections built in. You're also going to have activity cards. You're also going to have lesson ideas. So lots of possibilities to engage kids around the number blocks. And then the idea of that hopeful ending. And then talking about how those elements would fit into your lesson. If you're anything like I am, you kind of teach till the last minute. So I'm going to encourage you to do like I do now and start setting yourself timers on your phone so that you don't miss that moment. Because what happens is you do this great activity and then you run out the door and the kids didn't have a chance to think, oh, we counted in school, I can count at home. This is what I learned today. This is what I want to remember. So by not doing that hopeful ending, you're missing on the moment for the kid to reorganize their brain and to go, oh, I want to remember this. And that's called also the closure of a lesson or the consolidation. And very often we're talking about using these high leverage tasks with students, but the task isn't going to make a difference unless the student connects it and is able to generalize. So that's really what we're looking at for that hopeful ending. Yes, reflection, metacognition, but set a timer. Give yourself the gift of time to put a bow on it. Because that's those kids that when you see them next week, they're like, I don't even remember what we did. Well, of course they don't, because we didn't stop to think it was memorable. So we're going to give you time to go ahead and talk about all the parts of the number block lessons, what pieces you might already be doing, what pieces would you maybe want to try in the next couple of weeks for those of you that have kids still here or the right age kids to use these lessons. So what are you thinking about using and what makes sense? And we'll send you back to those breakout rooms. And let me make sure everyone's in one. Oops. Just a moment. All right, everybody's in a room and off you go.
All right. Welcome back. So thank you for taking that time to kind of talk about what's been shared so far and you had an opportunity to think about what the lesson will include. We want to give you some time right now to share a bit of your conversation. What were some of your takeaways, some of the key ideas that were lifted? I do want to also name that we know a couple of people really talked about how they might use that feely bag. I know I heard Lindsay and I think it was Caitlin talking about like creating a game to support the kids. Tina also named the feely bag. So if we can have one or more of you unmute and talk about the feely bag, how you might use that. And then everyone else, just prepare yourself if you would like to share as well about perhaps another aspect of the lesson that you would like to share a bit about.
I'll share. I love the idea of the feely bag. I've done where like kids go into a, you know, it's a mystery box or a mystery Tupperware, whatever I have.
Yeah.
What could be in it? And then I'm trying to describe it. But I love the idea that they could actually feel it from the outside. I guess. And then my brain was like, oh, I do letter of the day every day. So I could put in you know, all these letter O things and then they could be guessing, well, what could it be based on the way that it looks? So yeah, I love
it. Great idea, Tina. That's a wonderful way to extend that to the feely bag. I love that. Thank you. Anybody else, be it the feely bag or something else that really resonated with you with the lesson structure? Would someone else unmute and share a takeaway from your conversation?
We had a question as far as the time frame, like what would be the expected amount of time, like for the middle section? We know we had like the 5 and 5 at the end.
Yeah. Sean, I'll let you. Yep. Go ahead.
Given the age of the students, I usually chose the 5-minute or less video because we know we don't want them sitting in the screens for too long. So we're thinking 5 minutes to show the video, 5 minutes for whatever questions underneath the video. And then you're probably going to do 2 different activities. One based on the next green slide. So in this case, it was feely bag. And just like Tina said, repetition with variety. If we do feely bag and your kids love feely bag, I'd be doing feely bag every day. Every day something can go in the feely bag. Shapes can go in the feely bag, whatever. But then there are also those activity cards that came with your intervention. And then there were also lesson ideas built into your intervention pack as well. So I'm thinking the green section, video, 10 minutes between the 2, the slide, another 10 minutes. So you're probably at a good hour for the whole math section. By the time you do the warm opener, all the little pieces, give them time to get up and move. And we are going to talk about play in just a few minutes, because we really want to keep play at the forefront, not just for summer, but for all learning at this age. But definitely flexible. If you only have 30 minutes, pick and choose.
All right. Thank you, Shauna. Were there any other questions or any ideas that you would like to lift from your opportunity in the breakout rooms? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Just want to again remind you of our framework, and you will see this with your slides. Our warm openers will be in orange. The engaging activity will be in green, and then our hopeful endings will be in blue. And that will be the structure for a full lesson. And so we want to make sure that we commit to each and every component so that students might have a comprehensive experience. All right. Next, I want to remind you of the engaging activities, and Shauna named that it will include the video, it will include opportunity for them to respond to the questions and get some practice. But we want you to also think about how you can continue to keep students engaged within that time frame. And so you might include opportunities for students to work together, to intentionally share with one another. And so some examples of that might be the think, ink, pair, share. Right? You want to give them some time to think for themselves, to draw, to write about it, to then share their thinking, right? Pair up with one other person to share their thinking, and then have an opportunity to share a whole group. You might also consider clock partners. So at different times throughout a lesson or throughout the week, they have an opportunity to work with others, right? So you can have them in groups that are super intentional or some that are not, so they get opportunity to work with different folks who might approach a problem in different ways. We also want to make sure that we're providing that private think time. So that might be included in that think, eat, pair, share. Or if you're not going to have that structure before you might engage in an activity, you stop and provide them that opportunity to just think for themselves. And then you also might consider some mindful minute brain breaks, right? We can take a step away from engaging in the mathematics or specific activities connected to the content to just give them an opportunity to take a step back. And so some people sometimes use songs that are connected or not necessarily connected to content, an opportunity to share with one another. It might be an opportunity to draw or create something, but that we're mindful that we build those opportunities in for our students as well. Okay, and I will send that over to Shauna. And Shauna, did you want to name anything else regarding the engaging activity time?
Does anyone already have brain breaks or doing things with little ones that really kind of change the energy level? Yeah. That's one of the things that we've been talking lately in some of our behavior groups at Oakland. Yeah. Is to say it's not necessarily that the kid is hyper or the kid's lazy, but does your energy level match the activity? Is it a match? Yes. So if you are completely geared up and ready to go, that might be the perfect energy level if we're going to build with blocks. But if you are going to sit down and lay on the carpet and read a story, we need a different energy level. So does anyone have, Go Noodle, Stacy, yeah. How do you use Go Noodle to change the energy level?
So for my students, I allow them to pick a video. So each of them get to pick their own video. If you go on to Go Noodle, there are tons of different ways. If you're looking for like more calming and relaxed, they do have a little bit more relaxing ones. If you're looking for like that upbeat, get them moving, get their brain going, I could go talk to you about Purple Stew all day long.
Purple Stew?
Yeah.
I'm missing out, people. Tina's nodding. Yes. You'll have to put a link in there.
Thank you.
And those of you that are really good with kindergarten, I subbed one day in my entire career in a kindergarten that was half EL students, and they wouldn't come back from recess. I lost control. Never, ever again. So you all have my admiration, because 5-year-olds have a mind of their own. So I appreciate that. I'm better with it now, but really, people, I'm totally good with junior high EI programs and everything else. Kids with ASD, kindergartners, they're a tough bunch. Tina, tell us about Miss Molly.
So Miss Molly, if you just search Miss Molly, it's like a handle like Jack Hartman or, you know, one of those guys. But I've never found a Miss Molly video that is hyping my kids up. They're all like, we're gonna learn about shapes and it's and here's a shape song. And here, oh, it's Earth Day. Here's an Earth Day song and our big blue planet. And it's so beautiful. And so my kids will just, you know, they can stand, they can sit, whatever they want, but they usually will like all end up in their seat like, oh, that's so calming and it's so nice. And I'm like, and learning, here we go. Now we're gonna do the next thing. So it's like, you know.
So if you need to smooth out your group, we're gonna channel Miss Molly.
Yes, I mean, I can pair, usually I can get it to be close to the content of what we're doing if I want to, right? So you could, she's got counting, she's got, you know, all kinds of things. So you could make it go with, or just, let's pick a Miss Molly video.
Nice. Oh, Matola, you went with Jack Hartman?
Yes, and hello again, everyone. I love Jack Hartman. I've been using Jack Hartman, I believe, for about 8-9 years now. Even as a general education teacher, I used it. And why? It's because of the heartbeats. My students, they love that. They use it to reinforce the lessons. And also, I was so, you know, I was so happy when I found Jack Hartman that I actually did a research on, okay, where's this guy coming from? And I found out that his wife used to be a kindergarten teacher and she writes the lyrics and Jack Hartman just put them together. They work together. So it's a great resource and it's free. It's on YouTube for people to use.
Beautiful. So I'm hearing Miss Molly to smooth it out. And I'm hearing if you got the summer blahs and everyone's heat, maybe we need some Jack Hartman to perk it up a bit.
Yes.
Subitizing videos. If you are looking for activities where you want kids to know the quantity without counting. So if I do this, you know how many fingers that was because you could count and you know that that was all 5 fingers. So we don't always want kids to have to count with cardinality. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. So counting with cardinality is a skill, but also just knowing how many is a skill. And that's what we call subitizing, knowing without counting. And Jack Hartman has subitizing rodeo and subitizing spaceman and subitizing everything. So, and like anything, too much of anything is too much. But if you're using these really intentional, I think there's some magic in there. Anyone else want to recommend a resource for smoothing out the energy or ramping up the energy? Doesn't have to be a video, but those are okay too. Sometimes it's good to have it in your pocket. Okay, if anything else comes to mind, feel free to share. We are always better together. This information might be new, but I'm hoping you're going to hear more and more about it in the coming years. So how many of you have heard of the early instructional practices in literacy? They're a few years ahead of us, as always. Literacy thinks they have to go first everywhere. Seeing a couple hands here and there, beautiful. And what they've done is a statewide committee called GELN decided, and it's the General Education Learning Network, but special ed gets to come along and play. They decided that they wanted to gather the most important research about what we know about early literacy practices and what's the best way to teach so that we can sort of get on the same page. They've done the same thing for math and the website has just been created. So this is one of your options for your on your own learning. Part of this is learning the intervention. Part of this is also about being better instructors and connecting our practice to research. So looking at the Math Essential website, and this will continue to be added to as the year goes on. We have local folks, including Sam Kiesling from Oakland and some Macomb people, and then from others from around the state. They are taking the document that was created, the early instructional practices in math, and they are connecting it to modules. So we can really take time. How many of you, your methods class for elementary math was kind of a joke? Proud Wayne State warrior here. We did the most random stuff in mine, and I appreciated the activities, but I didn't understand how it really worked. and I didn't understand how kids learn. And I was really stuck using the textbook to the best of my ability because that's all the information I had. So they're trying to put this together with modules, and they started with the value statements. So we have some value statements here, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link in chat. This is directly to the value statements. And this is something that Eurisha has been talking about with connecting and developing positive, robust mathematics identities. How kids see themselves. Do they see this, themselves in the mathematics? So we've kind of talked about that with our warm openers and hopeful endings. And then we're looking at embracing social differences. Do we appreciate diversity, that we have lots of voices that are important in how we learn and do math? And here we're talking about expanding the meaning of math. We talk about this a lot with some of our special ed students, that we're really not talking about whether or not they're all going to be able to solve an algebraic equation one day. But what does it mean to understand patterns? What does it mean to be able to anticipate what happens next? What does it mean to understand when something's missing, or if you have half of something? So what are all the ways that we make sense of our world? That's the true basis of mathematics. So making sure we're open to all the possibilities. That we learn different ways, but we end up in the same place. This is the idea of multiple methods and making sure that we have lots of interaction. Learning is social, and we want to value that. And then we have teaching practices that we want to value and honor children's humanity. So I'd like to give you 3 minutes to think on your own, which one of these values would be really important to you to make sure that you're including that in your classroom approach to teaching mathematics. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in chat again. You can turn off your camera if you'd like. We're going to take 3 minutes and decide on a value that you would really like to have a conversation about. All right, we'll welcome you to turn your camera back on. We're going to have 5 room choices, and you really just need to join the room that you would really like to have a conversation about. We'll give you 5 minutes. How do these values match up with how you design your math instruction in your classroom? Either it's a strength of your program and something that you're already doing, or maybe it's something that you really want to make a goal for next year. How can I bring this element into my math teaching? All right, so we're going to go ahead and open them up as choice breakout rooms. If you need help joining a room, you can either tell me the value number or what you're interested in talking about, and we'll have you join that room. All right, off you go for choices. And if anyone wants to be moved, let me know. Renee Cummings, do you mind sharing your story? It was personal, and we definitely know that learning is personal and social.
Sure. I was just saying my son in first grade, and he had struggled in all areas of academics, but his math teacher talked a lot to him about it being his strength area, and that he was a mathematician and he would use that actual word, and he had a speech impediment, but that word still rolled off his tongue. And he would describe it that even though that he was in, a stronger math group, even though he truly was in the lowest math group each time, but he didn't realize it. And I feel that it still is part of who he is today, because at 16, he still recognizes those strengths. And I think that he was able to build on them because he believed in himself.
Anyone else like to share part of their conversation or honor a colleague who shared something that you thought was really important? This is also one of those hopeful endings when we kind of highlight someone else that they were an important part of our learning today. Omatola, thank you.
What we said, I was part of the Value 4, and this is that children learn mathematics in different ways. And this is not just mathematics, it's for every subject. And when we allow our students to do this for differentiation, it's they acquire the skill, they master the skills quicker than if we just try to put a certain way for them. Then I also share that in the classroom, like for example, this morning, one of my students who have been, he uses the number line. And when the way I taught him is that if you want to add, for example, 9 plus 3, get on 9, then count 3 more. I was surprised this morning when he said 9 to himself, and then he counted 3 more. And that's him choosing the way that he wanted to learn it. And I also said that it's not just for us as teachers to teach our students, but also we learn from them. For example, 2 years ago during the pandemic, one of my students shared something with me that has stuck with me since then. When he wants to count, like for example, 5 plus 3, when he wants to, and he draws the pictures, the circles 5 and 3, when he's counting them all together, he's crossing the circles, crossing them out. And I asked him, I said, why are you crossing them out? He said, so that I don't forget that I already counted it. You understand where I'm going? That so that I can know I already counted it. And since then, if I'm sharing or I'm teaching in the classroom, I also use that. I always remember this student that was the one that showed me the importance of you crossing it out so that you know.
One moment here. I do want to respond. All right, we got some confetti going for Omatola. She mentioned a couple things that are fabulous. Her students were drawing. The idea of representations is really important. And you get a little extra confetti for the number line. Those are things that we know are really important for students in making those connections. So I love that you brought up so many of the research points just as part of your experience. Anybody else?
Thank you. Then another thing, as I'm not sure if I already mentioned this, as long as students are able to explain how they arrived at that, because it's important for them to explain also, even if they are non-verbal, can you draw, can you tell me, can you show me? through hands-on. How did you arrive at this answer? So that way we can know for sure that you understand not just the answer, but how to get to the answer.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Another part of the early math document goes into some teaching practices. And I like, and I lost whoever spoke right before Omatola, but they also mentioned, maybe it was Renee, about different subjects. So when we think about those early instructional practices in literacy, those are going to be really good for math. And when we think about the early instructional practices in math, they still work when you're thinking about a 16-year-old. So there are lots of good connections that you can make there, just knowing about how kids learn and how they're social. So really we're going to focus on another part of that document, the early instructional practices in mathematics. And we're going to think about play and tinkering. And tinkering is such a fun word. So we're including some of those ideas in our pedagogy part of our lessons today. And we're going to make connections between the idea of play and tinkering with counting collections. This is an activity that you could literally do every day of summer school. During the school year, I would only recommend this one once a week because it takes a little bit longer than some of the other routines that we sometimes share. Thumbs up or a yay in the chat if you've done counting collections with students before. Okay, if counting collections is new for you, we have a video and we're going to watch. It's a pretty quick one, but it's a really interesting idea of how a teacher manages to do counting collections with a group of pretty young students. So there are counting collections, and this is part of the Padlet that actually work all the way through big kids. So there are lots of ways to format it, and we'll give you another link if you want to look at it for older students. But I just want to show you the different types of activities that she uses, and please pay attention to the questions that she's asking. You're going to have a short breakout after this, and it's going to be two things. What was the teacher doing, and what were the students doing? So those two pieces for counting collections.
And today for small group, we're gonna do our counting collections. Are you guys ready to go to counting collections? Yes, okay, go ahead and walk to your table, get your chair. All right, here are your keys. Go ahead and count your collection.
It's 11.
How do you know you have 11?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
You do have 11 keys. Can you count for me, Vivian?
Because you know I have swimming. I have 7.
Okay, can we count them one more time, please? You have 7 keys?
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
How many do you have?
Yeah.
9.
13. Wow.
Can you organize them for me in a different way? Okay, try doing that.
I'm done.
You're done? Oh, I see that you made groups. How did you make groups?
7.
How did you sort yours? You put them by the same size or the same color?
Same color.
Okay, so which of your groups has more? You're done? Can you write your numeral on there? Like what? The number. How many you had? How many did you have again?
7.
7. Penelope, I see that you made a straight line. You organize them differently. Can you count for me? Go ahead and count.
8 and 1.
Okay. Can I ask you for a favor? When you count, can you move them? So either you can move them up or move them over so that we can see how many you have.
7. Yeah. Teacher just has 7. You forget the one more.
Okay, are you ready to represent? Okay, go ahead and draw for me how many you have. Okay, can you make groups with Penelope, but can you talk to her so that she knows what she's doing? Okay, go ahead and talk to her. You made 2 groups. How many are in each of your groups?
You're gonna do this, okay? The purple one, put it by itself. And then the two blue
Oh, you
ones,
counted
put
them
it-
all together. How many are in this group?
No, don't
Just
put it
this group.
part of this.
4. How do you know there's 4? That was a quick response.
No, put that one.
And how many are in this group?
No, put that one. You're not. You have a lot of keys. And put like 4, 5.
5. So which group has more? That side has more, right? Okay, can you represent your whole collection? Oh, you want?
Teacher, look.
Yes.
Teacher,
What did you guys do? Ask her how many are in each group.
Teacher, look. Penelope, how many are in each group? Look. How many are in each?
Oh, you traced each one, huh? So how many do you have on your paper?
This one? 2.
All right, so counting collections follows the CRA. We have concrete, representational, and abstract. It allows the student to show how they're organizing and representing their collection. And we are recommending that you befriend a retiree or a hoarder, because there are lots of things out there that you can use for counting. So we're going to put you in breakout rooms. What did you see the teacher doing? And what did you see the student doing? And how would you use counting collections with your kids? Do you know, Sherry, what you were saying about how the teacher changed her directions for one of the students when she was tapping, unsuccessfully tapping?
I think they're the one student kind of to the left of our screen was counting and not really displaying one-to-one correspondence. So she tried to provide a strategy for the student to try by sliding the block up. So she kind of like adjusted a counting strategy for that. You saw other kids that were just sliding keys from one group to the other group, to a different side. So I think that there were strategies, and one of the big things that I noticed the teacher doing was just adjusting and taking advantage of various learning opportunities that the kids, created during their counting activity.
Absolutely. And that's always, when I first started doing teacher training, people would always ask me, well, how do you know what questions to ask kids? And I initially giggled because I'm like, I'm just talking to kids. But you don't realize until you sit back and watch videos or you sit in other classrooms, how much skill goes into knowing how to keep 5 or 6 kids engaged in the same activity who are all working at different paces. So the fact that she was able to tell one kid, okay, go ahead and make your representation. And another kid, she was having make groups. And with another kid, she was making sure they were counting with cardinality. Let's go ahead and count with cardinality again. Put 4 fingers up. When we count with cardinality, we say that total as a final count 1 extra time, just like the count on Sesame Street. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 fingers. Because otherwise a kid is just saying the numbers that they know in order, and they're waiting for you to nod and smile to say that they're done counting. So we don't want to be feeding the answer. We want independent, confident counters. And that really connects to our next idea. The DREAM organization works with early math. And we're going to connect you on your own options to looking at some modules from the Stanford group who have put out the DREAM website. And let me share my screen for a moment. So they not only have some articles and some interviews, but they also have different modules on things like counting, what children need to know and learn about counting. So you'll see some of the big ideas of things that we want to make sure students are exposed to. And this for me makes up for that methods class I had where I really didn't teach much about or learn much about how to teach math. What I ended up with was a collection of activities. And I didn't know how to use them skillfully or with the intention to move students forward. So if you're looking for the missing pieces of how to take the research and put it into your practice, I would recommend some of these modules. We're going to watch a little bit of some of the videos in just a moment, but we highlighted 2 specifically on the Padlet, and I'll show you how to find those in a moment. One of them really talks about the idea of counting and the big ideas. And then another one talks specifically about executive function. So this is kind of what Jason was just talking about. Students being able to coordinate a verbal count and a tap. They might need a push because the push is going to be more intentional than the tap. So all of these big ideas, one-to-one correspondence, how do we get a verbal sequence? How do we have students count with cardinality? How do we build up working memory? So this is one of the options. If you go to the Padlet after today, we're going to have our Oakland Schools column where you'll have access to the number block slides, as well as today's training slides and today's training video. You have the option of doing any of the red or green columns for on your own hours. All of the green columns are really about intervention in general for mathematics. The red column is going to have everything you need for social and emotional learning. And you're going to slide all the way to the right. If you would all get nauseous, close your eyes for a moment. We're going to slide all the way over to the blue columns, and they've all been filled in now, so you have lots of options. You can go to those dream modules. You can go back to the value documents. You can look at the practice number 1 about play and tinkering. You can do the accounting, assessing counting module. You can dig deeper into counting collections. We not only gave you the video that we watched today, there's a few more follow-ups. But if you work with older students, you may want to try the TEDD website right here. It goes into counting collections, and it even gives you ideas for recording sheets, different number size of collections that you might want to use, as well as some work from Doug Clements, who really wrote the book literally on the early learning trajectories for mathematics. And then G. Fletchy did an idea of how the big ideas in early math kind of grow across. So lots of options for on your own learning, because we really want to honor the fact that you came to here to not only learn how to use and to get some cool supplies, but also how to enhance math instruction throughout the year. So we want to give you some good resources for that. And I want to show you a little bit of the counting module. So we've got these linked into today's slides, and we're first going to see the counting bears. Maybe, there we go. All right. So this is a younger student who is an EL learner, and she's been given the task of counting. And you'll get to see for a few minutes what she's going to do. And so you're really watching, what does the student know? And what would you want to work on next?
Take in the box.
You can count those, or you can just count.
1. Wait, 1.
Should we dump them out?
Yeah. That's enough.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
What can the student do? What skills is she showing?
He can count hypothetically to 20, maybe 30.
Good. So we have a counting sequence. Beautiful. What else is this student doing? Yes, Lindsay, she is showing 1-to-1. Beautiful.
Organizing him into groups of 8.
Absolutely.
Like as soon as she got to 8, and you could see her get ready to move the blue over to the front again.
Okay, so we have some theories going about how she's organizing. What else is she good at? How many of you have kids that wouldn't have moved a single bear? They would have tried to count the mess. Beautiful. So she was able, I'm going to organize my mess. All right, let's watch a little bit more of her.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of bears.
Uh-huh.
What comes after 30?
31.
Yes. You want to keep going? Yes. Okay, keep going. We don't have any more bears, but keep counting. But I don't have no more bears. So keep counting. Can you count in your head? Can you count in the air, but say the words out loud? I don't know how to do it. So where are you at? Right here.
What is that student telling us?
Either that she's tired and she doesn't want to do anymore, or she isn't really sure what comes after 31.
What does she need to be able to keep counting?
She needs those items to count with.
Colleen, yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say like a visual model.
Yeah, so she was pretty confident counting as long as she had stuff. And she could even tell you what number she would say next, but you weren't getting any more numbers until I got more bears. So there's this beautiful moment. Absolutely. And Tina, when the interview initially said, hey, just count for me, she thought she would just say numbers. And she wanted stuff. Jason.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, I like the fact that she's like, no, that this is a set of stuff and I counted 30. If there's no to add to that stuff, then there's no more numbers that are coming. So I think that's a good thing because it shows a pretty good concept of what those numbers are, as opposed to just having the rote repetition of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know, the kids that say, I can count to 1,000. And I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Count to 1,000.
Are you really counting?
Right. Do you understand what 256 is? No. So.
There's the whole thing there. All right, we are going to skip ahead just a little bit, and you'll be able to access all these videos, by the way, if you're interested in what else she's able to do. We're going to watch a little bit of the next activity.
How about I try to make a pattern with them? Blue, yellow, green.
Okay, let me see that.
Blue, yellow, green. Blue, yellow, green. Blue, yellow, green. Blue, yellow, green.
What's this guy doing?
Flicking.
Where's he looking?
Over there.
How many of us just ask students to make a pattern on their own? And how many of you are like, ooh, when she flipped the colors? Was anyone else having a moment there? They continue on with another way of using counting bears, and you can do this with any activity. And I lost my time there, 7:48.
This is red like the red bear.
You're right. What's different about them?
So this is a marker and this is a bear and this has a top and this one doesn't.
Are they the same size?
No, because this is long and this is a bear size.
How would you describe bear size?
So
you said this was long.
And this is short.
Yeah, that's shorter. You're right. All right, let's see.
And this marker has words and decorations on it, and this one doesn't. It only has one rectangle hole on the bottom.
That does have a hole on the bottom. Does this have any holes?
No, but it has a sticker on the bottom.
It's amazing what happens when we just ask an open question. When we talked about one of the values that being math is about sense making, this kid is making sense. So as you're looking for activities to do with children, take a look at what we're doing with one object, all of these different ways, being really open to knowing what questions to ask. And that is not easy. Like, it is interesting to kind of learn and develop your questioning skills, but that's where you're going to find the magic. So if you're interested in doing more of this, the DREAM resources from Stanford are all free. They're all linked on your Padlet. And for the next up to 10 hours total, you'll get paid to go ahead and learn those activities. So hopefully some of those look engaging to you. All right, so how would you define play-based math? Go ahead and put an answer in the chat. How would you define play-based? And Colleen, while people are typing in, did you want to explain a little bit more?
Yeah, I think like if you give them something to use to play with and kind of like either have certain expectations or just like kind of let them explore and see what they do with things. And then, like you said, maybe use questioning to kind of see where their mind's going.
Someone's had enough. Beautiful. Stacy, say more.
So I'm just thinking like using some of those like high interest toys, things that they're interested in, cars, asking questions. How many do you have? If you have 7, how many more do you need to make 10? Just kind of playing with them a little bit, sitting back and watching and seeing what they do too. So I work in a ASD classroom. So like, you never know what these kids are going to do with their toys. Are they going to line them up? And like, why are they lining them up? You know, just kind of going off of what they're doing, use them to help guide your lessons.
Absolutely. And I think Regina just answered my next question on the slide. So do you think planned counting activities like counting collections or like the interview that you just saw, would that count as a play-based environment? And Regina, I'm hearing that you might say yes to that. What made you think that those are play-based? You have to unmute.
Yes. I mean, I feel when I taught kindergarten, those were the type of things when they're play-based as opposed to actually like pen and pencil and worksheets and things like that. But you know, the kids are actually enjoying themselves with it. Like she could have walked away and they probably would have continued that on their own, or she could put a whole bunch of things out and walk away on different tables and they would probably figure out what to do with them. And I think those are play-based type ideas, even like a sand table with measuring cups in it. And they, you know, they discover for themselves what those are doing, you know, water tables, sand tables.
Absolutely. So it's child-led. What's really interesting is if you watch that whole video, the girl wanted to make a pattern. It was not the grown-up that said, make a pattern for me right now. And it was the same way where she started comparing the marker to the bear. Oh, I know what's different. So having kids comparing, contrasting, telling what they notice, telling what they see. We would never tell you to have a math lesson about comparing a marker to a counting bear, but it's being open to those moments of discovery that are kind of beautiful. We do have, we want to share with you what you'll be getting. You'll be getting 2 different kits. They're all boxed up and ready to go. It'll take about a week to get to your district and then however long it takes from your district office to get to you, but be on the lookout for it because these were pricey, but we love them. So we're happy to give them to you. As you get the kits, you're going to have those activity cards and lesson ideas. You'll have the manipulatives. This is also connected to the NCETM, which is through the UK. So they will talk about other materials. So if you're a person that likes to have printables, you can access the link and it will give you some of the episode connections as well as some like official lessons and things like that for you. The number blocks at home will reinforce those connections that Eurisha was saying as part of our hopeful endings, that we want to be able to connect to how can parents continue these conversations, whether it's downloading the number blocks app, or talking about how we're going to count things at home, all of those good ideas. We also have a PDF connected there for you. If you want to make printables, this is actually the printable one. And all of the slides will be posted on Padlet, so don't worry about grabbing everything. Today is just about absorbing your learning. And I'm gonna wait for a minute for that to load. It's loading slow. The computer can tell it's the end of the day. And then we want to encourage you to look at the new YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel has over 4.7 million people who subscribe. There are full episodes, which are up to a half-hour long, which we're not recommending for an intervention setting, but being able to tell parents that if your kid's going to hang on YouTube, it might as well be good for your brain. But on the YouTube channel, they also have songs, and you can make find the number blocks, the hidden activities. They will also have the activities where you can make Play-Doh number blocks. Take a look at all the little Play-Doh guys. So there are crafts and songs and just about anything you can think of. But I really want to encourage, if you have some older students during the school year, or if you end up with some older students in your class, it doesn't mean that number blocks isn't going to be appropriate. Your kit materials probably won't be as flexible, but number blocks itself covers patterns, which we saw today, shapes, 2D and 3D, even and odd, groups of 2, 5, and 10, 4 basic ops, fractions. So just about any math concept, you're going to have a really short, fun video to help introduce that concept to kids. So we're hoping whether you're doing it for the summer or in your classroom this week, that you have these connections ready and available for you. They also have some holiday videos, depending on your stance on sharing holidays with students. But again, the crafts, and then there is an app as well if you wanted to make that connection. Questions on where to find some of the materials. Everything will be linked into the slides. And you have those Padlets. Okay, then let's take just a moment, and I would like you to go to the YouTube channel. And if you would, find one video that you think would be interesting for either your current students or one that you would like to use in the summer. And so you have all those options. You can see that they're grouped. There's a whole row of crafts. There's a whole row of Play-Doh. And I got there by clicking on videos. And it's a good time to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed.
My 5th graders have lost like all motivation. And so even just playing some of these, there's like multiplication ones just to fill some time with them.
And you let the same thing that with the counting collections is let them have the moment then. Where can we talk about this? And counting collections is another one. I would bring in a bunch of stuff like raid your school office, take a few paper clips out of a box and ask them how many. And how'd you know? Did you count by 2s, by 5s, by 10s, by 20s, by 50s? That act of organizing the count is just magic. Because for those kids, like Omatola mentioned earlier, getting kids to explain their thinking is really hard. So if you use those counting collections to have kids say, well, you don't want to count the paper clips by 1. That's going to take a long time. So what can you do to be more efficient? How do we know? And then how do you prove it to me what your count is correct? And then how do you represent it? How would you draw 350 paper clips? You certainly don't want to draw them individually. So I love that. So you're going to look at your 5th graders. Somebody else. Where are you finding some inspiration and connections? Do we have any craft people out there? I heard the number blocks castle was kind of amazing. Grab a few of those Amazon boxes. It's a really good
a lot.
Stacy, how does it work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my kids really like figurines and little things, and they'll say to us like pig, and I know that he's gonna want me to make a pig. So I could see us using the Play-Doh, like so showing a video. And I could see the kids like wanting me to build these things for them. And then they kind of walk around with them and they become a fun thing for the day. So I'll be going back and doing this. This looks like a lot of fun.
Beautiful. How many of you are getting Amazon boxes to the building right now? Get those boxes, let them cut them up and make stuff. There's a whole video up here about creating a number blocks castle. How many towers? How do you know? How do you measure so your castle's not wonky on one side? So being really open to it, I think it's a nice way to be inspired and to help kids make connections. And then just balancing. That's a 5-minute video, but it's easily going to be an hour of building in the classroom. So just kind of a nice moment. All right, hopefully your brain is feeling full. We'll remind you that you do have the Padlet and the stipend link. As you're downloading your stipend form, remember that we are meeting again June 7th as a whole group with all 3 interventions. And we'll kind of put the finishing touches on things that we've been talking about for all 3 groups. And we will also be reminding you that the on your own hours are the ones down here on the form. Anything that it says Zoom, we gather that attendance. So when you come on the 21st, we'll be able to print out your form. We'll get everything filled out and signed. If you haven't filled out a W-9, you want to take care of that. You can find the on your own activities on the Padlet. You know that all the blue ones are good for number blocks, as well as the red and the green, so social emotional, as well as the good intervention ideas. And we are going to walk the talk here. So I think Euretia is going to end us with an optimistic closure.
All right, wonderful. And just as a reminder, our optimistic closure provides an opportunity for student reflection, for them to think about what was important about my learning for today, and then how might I hold on to that? How might I retain that? So some examples are listed right there on the screen for you, right? You have 1 minute accolades, something that I learned today, I'm curious about, and so on. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So today's hopeful ending is called Better Each Day. And it really sets the tone, supports us in creating a culture around improvement. We're all striving to be better. We can all do things so that we can grow. And so you get to model that for your students, and then you give your students an opportunity to reflect on it for themselves and then name something as well. So you can structure this as a think, ink, pair, share if you have time within your class to do that. But if you don't, you can have it as a more open experience where you name something, you give them think time, and then you open it up. And so we are going to provide that time for you to share today. So I'm going to give you a moment. Thank you. I want you to think about everything we engaged in today. We had an opportunity to get familiar with what our structure looks like. We had an opportunity to look more at those warm openers, those engaging activities connected to the number blocks program. So you got to look at the videos and think about how those might work. In addition to our hopeful ending, you also had an opportunity to look at our math essentials, those early math essentials, the value statements that are connected, how that might connect to what it is that you already believe, what you value, and then the experiences that you are creating for your students. We went further, had an opportunity to look at some videos to think about strategies that we can use to support our students as they're engaging in the work. So Better Each Day is a hopeful ending that gives us all an opportunity to think about what we might do to improve. So we are all working to do better work each day. I want you to name something you will do to help you do even better work tomorrow. So tomorrow it might be provide more wait time, right? You want to hear what your lovelies have to say. Tomorrow I will ask more questions. Tomorrow I will talk less. Tomorrow I will leverage the voice of my student, right? Stacy named some things today. Jason named some things. Maybe I'll publicly acknowledge what Jason said and leverage that so that students will know that his contributions are really valuable, whatever it might be for you. So I want to give you a moment right now, right? You can name some things to help your students, but I want to give you a moment. So what might you do tomorrow with your students that perhaps you've been doing, but you want to be intentional about it tomorrow? Or maybe you haven't done it, you want to give it a try. All right. All right, that Philly bag of shapes tomorrow. Great, thank you. Is that Lindsay there? Yes, thank you. Tomorrow, I will ask more open-ended questions. Absolutely. Thank you, Brooke. Tomorrow, we'll introduce number block videos to see the engagement that my students will have with this way of learning. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That was Stacy. Thank you, Stacy. Colleen, tomorrow, I will use questioning and conversation. All right. I'm going to stop, and I want to invite you, if I haven't shared what you name, if you can please unmute and talk about what is it that you're committing to doing tomorrow.
Tomorrow I will make my shape bag and I will give it a go tomorrow too.
All right, excellent. Great, thank you, Lindsay. Absolutely, and I see everybody is naming. Listen, Jason, would you mind unmuting and telling us what you're going to be doing?
Not sure what it's gonna look like exactly yet. It's something I need to kind of reflect and think about, but I want to do something deliberate, not just, you know, I think I said in one of my small groups earlier, one of our breakout sessions earlier, that, you know, you try to develop these growth mindsets and these positive math identities, but if it's not deliberate, it's not gonna happen on its own all the time. So, so if I don't plan it and think about it, it may or may not happen. You know, with opportunity, I might be able to take advantage of an opportunity, but I'd like to do something a little bit more deliberate.
Sure.
Positive math identity.
All right, that sounds beautiful. Thank you, Jason. We heard a lot of wonderful ideas from our colleagues in this space today that you might consider. Also, we encourage you to consider your warm openers and hopeful endings. They always provide space for students to share their voices and to support them in building those positive math identities with each contribution. All right. Well, as always, we want to honor your time. I want to thank each and every one of you for engaging in this hopeful ending, and want to encourage you to commit to providing those opportunities at the end and the beginning of each class so that your students can share their thinking, share their voices so that they know their contributions are important. Right, I'll turn it over to Shauna.
Actually, that's just a beautiful ending. The slides and video will be posted later today on Padlet. You can earn a maximum of 10 hours per intervention that you were registered for. The W-9 form is on our Padlet, and if you have any further questions, we're happy to stay on and answer them for you. Otherwise, we will see you on June 7th, and we are excited. We are hoping that this is really moving math instruction forward in Oakland County. So thanks for your time. We know it's a long day. And if you have any questions, feel free just to unmute. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.